Wow. So, taking a quick break and interjecting a random episode in here just because big news just came out that needs to definitely be addressed just because of the impact on it with the influence that it has had on so many things and so many creators. But Rooster Teeth, it was announced that they are being shut down by their parent company, Warner Brothers Distributions. And so, effective pretty soon, um, everything from Rooster Teeth is pretty much going to be done and gone with. Not in the sense that like they're completely just going to erase everything and just be gone from existence. Obviously, if there's any videos up on YouTube, they're still going to be there. I don't know how it's going to fare with the website. If the website's still going to be there just for archiving, but the company is essentially no more. They're looking into selling some of the bigger IPs, so finding a streaming service, a company, a distribution company that will essentially pull like a Marvel. Like they're going to sell someone who's interested Red versus Blue to see if they want to keep that going. Uh, Ruby and I believe it's Genlock is the only three IPs that they're looking at trying to sell to other places just so that way they can keep going and the Rooster Teeth, at least one of the Rooster Teeth IPs will still kind of live on and keep the company's name a little bit alive. But as far as everything is concerned right now, the company is being shut down. Not going to be effective immediately. They did say also that some podcasts for the Roostcast will continue still up until the company is completely shut down and gone with. And also, since Red versus Blue is in the middle of a season, it's tentatively right now going to be the final season of Red versus Blue. And so once that concludes, pretty much it's done for. The final page has been written for the company. And I've never really been one of the naysayers or the proclamation, one of the people that's been rooting for Rooster Teeth to fall. I love Rooster Teeth. I loved them when they were first getting started because I was a high school senior when I believe like season 2 or 3 of Red versus Blue had just come out. Obviously, a big avid Halo fan, but Rooster Teeth was a very big influence on me, especially starting podcasting because they made it look so much fun with the Drunk Tank podcast, I believe it was called, where it was just Bernie and Jeff or Bernie and a few other people, Gus maybe sometimes, where they would just shoot the shit because they were friends and they just wanted a platform to just talk to each other with. And it just was so natural. The chemistry was obviously always there, and it just seemed so much fun to just do. It was much fun to just listen to them. And then it obviously morphed into the Rooster Teeth podcast, and I did sign up to become a first member once they started the video podcast, so that way I could actually watch that podcast live and I have to wait until Tuesday morning to listen to the audio or Tuesday afternoon to watch the videos. I could just watch it as it's going down, be a part of like the chat, be a part of the whole thing. And it was an enjoyable experience. And so that led to me being inspired to start the Austin Guy podcast back in 2013. And the achievement hunters were amazing. I loved doing Awu. I loved just watching them open or start up doing the Let's Play channel and doing Let's Plays. They helped me get into Minecraft once Minecraft started transcending into the console sphere, there was so much that they had an influence on just by being pioneers in their field with machinima, with doing animated shows that had unique stories that were still very fleshed out and gained a very big fan base. Anything they did at the time garnered a really, really, really big fan base and would just get like ridiculous amounts of views, like within the first hour of being uploaded to YouTube. If you were to watch it, it would already be at like, I don't know, 37,000 views, depending on like the first 5 minutes, to 52,000, to sometimes even like upwards of 370,000. That's insane. Like that's something that I don't think any, like nowadays, like yeah, it's probably more frequent than I'm making it out to be. But back in 2010, 2011, 2012, 13, 14, it was kind of unheard of unless you were already like a big established name on YouTube. Like PewDiePie probably got those numbers, but not many people at all. Like maybe 5 channels in all probably got those numbers. But they also helped kick off like slow mo guys because Gavin needed a way to come over here to get a visa to come over to the States to work for Rooster Teeth. Everyone got introduced to Barbara Dunkelman and her punny ways and just who she is. We got Ruby, we got Let's Plays, we got Achievement Hunter, we got RVB, we got Camp Camp for people who love Camp Camp. There were so many things and so many people. When it was just a small little startup that it just blew up, and they managed to navigate the waters very well with how big they grew, with their expansion, with hiring people at a steady rate to facilitate more views, to facilitate chemistry in their independent channels, and to just overall like allow the company to keep going in an upward trajectory, which is very tough, but they managed to do it. And they made it look almost effortless. And so to hear that they're shutting down, it's very, very impactful. It's not really surprising just because of the trajectory of the company over the past 10 years. But, sadly, all good things have to come to an end at some point. They hit 21 years of being around, and they were looking forward to just being around for a lot longer. However, just the landscape of digital content, digital creator content, and the audience and what people demand, what people really want, and then just how they handled making all said content, doing all their work schedules, their workloads. It eventually just leads, yeah, to the downfall. And it's something that's been happening over years. Not something that just suddenly just came up out of nowhere. Uh, he even came out and just let it be known that, hey, like, yeah, some of the things that you think would have made us a shit ton of money were never really profitable. Like, they came out and said they never made a profit off of any of the RTX events. Probably minus the first one, just because the first one there wasn't a lot to do. They didn't expect to have that much of a crowd show up. But to rent out the Austin Convention Center, to rent out the rooms, to be able to do panels, to have all the vendors there and pay for all of that, all the food that the vendors are selling in the venue, uh, to having companies just come in and say, yeah, like we'll pay you guys this much so we can set up and kind of get like our name out there on certain projects so that way we can get, because you guys are obviously have a good following. We want that following to carry over because we want to reach your audience. Hell, even like 343 1 year at RVB, not RVB at RTX just showed up, built a little area where everyone got to see the Master Chief Collection like firsthand. If you weren't at E3, you actually got to see the menus, you get to see the interface, you get to see everything that was going to be coming in on that game and get even more excited for. You basically had an exclusive access to it. You didn't get to play it, you didn't get to really interact with it yourself, but to actually see it in person, to be in that room with those group of people that you got to go into the room with and ask questions and just be in awe as someone's navigating the interface of the menu and showing you like, here's how we have everything organized. Here's like how all the games look. Here's how all the playlists for all the going spanning across all 3 or 4 games is gonna look. And here's what they hold. Here's what you can do. Here's like a quick the lobby, how you can easily just natively drop in and out of someone's lobby with your friends, and it won't really affect the game at all too much. Was so special, so unique. And then to also have people from 343 and Bungie show up and be like, yeah, like we work closely with them. They work closely with us. Like, you want to say hi, you want to get some autographs, you want to get some pictures. If you're in the game design world and you want to meet some of your idols, your heroes, like they're gonna be there because we work really good with Bungie and 343. To even saying like, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and like premiere shows. So RVB will have its season whatever premiere. Ruby will have its series premiere. But to have a huge crowd show up for all of that and still not make a profit, but then keep expanding to be able to fit even bigger crowds, like it's a crazy landscape. And like if you ever just get bored and look at like conventions and the models for like or the process, the cost of everything, and how much they would have to sell to break even, and how much they would have to charge to break even, how much they would have to charge vendors for setting up, and then all of that still pay talent to show up for like autograph signings or panels. It's a crazy thing. It's a crazy industry and a crazy field. But nonetheless, again, they managed to navigate everything so natively smooth that, or naturally smooth, that it was just insane to see it grow and blow up as big as it did. And yet, like, a lot of people ended up meeting significant others. A lot of people ended up starting relationships. A lot of people, you got to meet your heroes and interact with them and not just do like a quick hi, get a signature, and bye. Like, you could literally just spend the whole weekend just chatting up with one of your favorite personalities. Or heck, even at one of like the mixers, just end up drinking and having a drink with one of your favorite personalities and just getting a quick conversation in with them. They did a lot, and they are a very special part of the internet's history, and for a lot of people on the on the internet, as far as the community goes. So it's really sad, but not surprising to hear that they are getting shut down, especially when they have still a lot of story left on Ruby to tell. They have a lot of I guess they still have a lot of story left on RVB to tell. But also once most of the founders ended up leaving the company to pursue other ventures. They just got tired of being attached to that company. They wanted to pursue other interests and try other things. You leave it in the hands of people that aren't weren't there from the beginning, that aren't aware of the values that you're trying to build this company on and what you're trying to do with it, and what it's supposed to stand for. Eventually it all just becomes a money thing, and so you have people looking at it from a business, and they need to make money because the more money they make, the more they can put into other projects, just like any other studio. They have to have money to spend so that they can make content that would make money, more money, and then they can use that more money to then hire more people or make more content or get more projects off the ground, all in house if necessarily, just to kind of save a little bit of more money. But you get what I'm saying. And it shocked me too to see Barbara post about it after listening to Morning Somewhere podcast where Bernie was just interviewing Barbara, talking about their time at Rooster Teeth before this even got mentioned. And so now it's just I'm curious to see where everyone's going to be going. Uh, yes, they have experience in their own portion of Rooster Teeth. Some have had several experiences through seven different positions in Rooster Teeth. Whereas, like, Barbara was doing social media, doing RTX planning, event coordinating. I could see her doing something like that with another company, or just heck, just making that her own career for her own business at that point. Same thing with a lot of the other like creative heads or channel heads or department heads. Like they each have that own skill set to just do what they've been doing with Rooster Teeth for other businesses, or just start their own business. Still do that with for other people that they may get contracts with, or that may hire them to help them with X, Y, and Z. Some may even try to do what Ray did and just make a full time streaming career, which Ray Navarez, hey dude, like you've killed that shit. You've rocked that shit for shit almost a decade now, over a decade probably. And yet, like, that's still a viable option for any of the other personalities. Writers who are writing episodes for Ruby, Red vs. Blue, Genlock, Camp, Nomad of Nowhere. They can get writing jobs. The people that they contracted to animate, they can still do animation jobs now. They can still do um, they can still do like coordinating. They can still do sequencing. They can still do motion captures for different parts of the industry, different companies. But the main thing that's kind of just like really shocking or not shocking, but just very saddening to me is there's quite literally less than a handful of production studios in Austin. So anyone who's trying to at least get in the industry and they're here in the Texas area, if you're not like in a big city that could potentially have a studio or two that they operate out of, I mean Austin had probably about two or three. Now there's one less, and that really shrinks the margin for people to get into a career, people to get their foot in, and they have to go to more, I would say, traditional routes to now get their foot in. But that to me is the saddest part. I mean, I've had my own memories of meeting Barbara at the old Congress building, and then meeting her several times at RTX, at signings at like different locations for Ruby, meeting Gus, meeting Bernie himself quite a few times, um, like running into Blaine, running into just about everyone who's been associated with Rooster Teeth as a personality, an on-camera personality. Even Chris Damaris a few times, seeing him. Like, he's still just as awkward in person, but it was still a joy, and I think I caught him off guard by actually winning his autograph at one point. And just knowing too that if you lived in the Austin area at any point at any time, you can run into any one of them in the wild. And of course, the community is mostly like gracious fans. Like they're going to be very polite about approaching them. They know when to just leave them alone because they're doing something or this, that, or the other. But that also just was extra special too. I mean, if you grew up in LA, like, yeah, you're surrounded by all that, and it's not as uncommon, but to actually be a part of a real big community of fans who love this company that has made a name for themselves and definitely solidified themselves in the history of the internet and in the industry. To also just be like, this is solely a Texas thing and solely an Austin thing, that you could just run into them casually. And they aren't like actors, they aren't really big names, but they're popular enough and more and recognizable enough that a lot of people just will see them and know them and love them. And they are very humbling and they're very happy to interact with fans and to meet fans and just give everyone a really good human experience and not like a fan experience. Yeah, that's also what makes them and made them very special. I did have other recordings that I was wanting to do, but finding this out while I was at work, and then just being like, I can't get it off my mind. I need to talk about it because that's just damn that blindsided all of us just as much as it blindsided them. And of course, there's a lot more that went into what led to this. But I've never been one to root for them failing, so I am not going to sit there and just act like I know a lot of information about what was going on. I only know, and I brought up the stuff that was made public that everyone knows was for sure, uh, like factual events, and not something that was like, oh, this is mostly factual, but still slightly alleged. Like, just because that's how the internet is, and especially with a company like this that everyone loves, anything that gets slighted is very, very drastic. But the fact that it's a company that has been generational because, or through fans that were there at the beginning and now having kids that are now growing up with the content that they were able to start consuming at the right age and still associating it with Rooster Teeth. Like even my kids got into Rooster Teeth. My daughter mainly through Ruby, my son through RVB and a little bit of Ruby. So it's that they never would have known it if I hadn't introduced them to it, and if there wasn't any shows there made by them that I could be like, this is actually something that they could get into and that they would like. Yeah, the language is a little bit, and the subject matter sometimes is a little bit, but that's the internet. That's who these guys are. That's who this company was, and it's just them. It's uniquely them. So I'm just gonna sit here and just still be like, damn, in astonishment for the rest of the day, while I just, as much as I want to say, try to figure out like how life is gonna be like post Rooster Teeth. I myself gave up on Rooster Teeth not too long ago. I definitely gave up on Achievement Hunter before I gave up on Rooster Teeth. But then once Rooster Teeth's content really started to really changed a lot, and it just wasn't the kind of content that I was wanting to consume anymore. I still clung on just in case, there are like a few nuggets here or there, a few gems where I'm like, yeah, that's kind of funny. Yeah, that's kind of relatable. I enjoyed this. But even so, there wasn't enough content outside of that would make me that made me want to stay. And so I ended up just being like, I'm done, I'm moving on from them. And it's probably been a few months as of this recording that I've moved on from Rooster Teeth. So again, just to hear that, like, hey, this happened, it still catches you off guard, and that's where I'm gonna be at for at least a little bit. But thanks for listening to this random coherent rambling. I know a lot of people who were employed there, and some of them, hey, it sucks. You finally got your dream job, and this happens. Or you've been working at your dream job for less than a year, less than 2 years, and expected some longevity. Hey, it sucks. To the people that have been working there for day one, or at least been there for well over 10 years out of the 21 years, hey, like, thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you for everything you've contributed to. Thank you for just being there and being you, because you made Rooster Teeth. You made us love Rooster Teeth. And without you, the growth, the shows, none of it would have been possible. So thank you to everyone at Rooster Teeth. Thank you to all of you who are listening. Hope y'all have a really good weekend, a really good week, rest of the week. I know spring break's coming up. Hope y'all all stay safe. At least spring break here in Texas is coming up. Hope you all stay safe for that. If you already have spring break currently, as of this recording, which is on the 6th of March, I wish you still stay safe and have fun. If you have spring break later on in the month, then I also just wish you well in your travels. Wish you safety, wish you all the enjoyment, and hey, why not just pop in an episode, play an episode for the road, either in your own headphones or for the whole car to listen to. At least kill about an hour, just letting me ramble on. But I will catch y'all next time on this drive. Again, take care of yourselves, and I love y'all.